Well, I want to thank you for joining me. Lots to talk about today. Let's start with Revelation, your song. It has made quite a bit of a splash. What was the inspiration for this song?
Well, the song kind of came to me out of nowhere about a year ago, actually, a little less than a year. Just watching the way the world's going, the way our country's going, and all the X factors swinging around out there, not just in America, but globally. I think we're all been thinking about that, but I really didn't set out to write a specific song about it. It just kind of came out of nowhere. It was kind of downloaded to me, if you want to look at it that way, like, wow, where's this coming from? And thought I should probably write down what I'm hearing in my head right now. And so I wrote it down, and in about an hour, it was quick. And the song's called Revelation. Yeah, it's called Revelation. And I tell people it's really not lyrics. It's really scripture that I just made rhyme. Like, I took what it says and figured out how to build that into what would be a song. And then I didn't really know what to do with it. I'm like, well, what do you do with a song called Revelation? I mean, who's going to listen to that? Who's going to play that? But as time passed on this year, it became more and more apparent to me that the things that song was talking about, which is spiritual warfare, that there is a much bigger situation going on than Democrat, Republican, left, right, much, much, much bigger, which we're told in Scripture, yeah, that's actually the truth of it. We wrestle not with flesh and blood, but with principalities and powers. I said, you know what? It's probably time to put it out. And so I reached out to Tucker Carlson, and I played it for him just to see what he would think. And he hits back and he goes, I can't even believe what I just listened to. And I showed him the video, which basically shows the devil and Michael the Archangel going to battle in the middle of the woods in Tennessee in front of a old country church where I'm standing in between them. He saw that and he said, come on my show. I want to talk all about this. So that's where this thing got started, was with Tucker. And since then, it has been viewed millions and millions of times. The video has. The song has been played millions of times by people, and the conversation continues. I think deep down inside of people, they know that what they see every day is not the full story. They just know it's not. And they know it. They know there's something else at work here. And that's what the song talks about.
Yeah, I mean, I think even if you're not a Christian and you're looking at the world, there are a lot of people right now who are like, well, wait a minute, this isn't making sense, right? Some of the things that are happening around us, they're not making sense. They're not understanding what's going on. And so I think this is a topic, Revelation, the end time, spiritual warfare. These are topics that people care deeply about, even people outside of the quote unquote church, right? And so here you are, you're talking about this. You very repeatedly, again and again, have been very bold, talking about cultural issues, political issues, and your faith. What is it that has enabled you to be so bold and open about these topics while a lot of other people in entertainment maybe don't do that for fear of what will happen?
Well, I used to be afraid of what would happen. That's a fact. For long time. The music industry, they like to create artists in their own image. They have a serious God complex in the entertainment industry. They want you to look like they want you to look, sing like they want you, sing how they want you to sing, and present yourself how they see fit. And at one point, several years back, I just said, yeah, that's just not going to work anymore, because I'm literally sacrificing not only my freedom of speech, but I felt integrity. Like, if I know the truth about something, but I refuse to say it because I'm afraid of what these people are going to say or do, pretty sure we're told not to be that way. We're told to actually, it says, rejoice when you're persecuted for bearing my name. What a commandment. Rejoice. Yeah. Like, be really, really happy when people really, really hate you for speaking the truth about me. So,
it's tough.
It is tough. It took me a while to get to where I could handle that. But little by little, I exited my record deal, exited my publishing deal. I currently have no deals with any companies anywhere. And that freed me up to be able to say whatever I want. I mean, what are you going to do to me now? Other than call me bad names and, whatever. But you really can't do anything to me, because all the things I had that I valued that they controlled, I no longer have. And so that's allowed me to go forward and speak the truth, talk about what the Bible says about these situations, write songs like Revelation. And it's pretty incredible to see the impact that conversations like the one we're having and others and music like Revelation is having out there in the general public. And to your point, people who are not Christians, never cracked the Bible open in their whole lives, they come in contact with something that I said or a piece of content that I created, and it makes them start thinking. I've had tons of them hit me up. I'm an atheist, but I have to say that video got my attention. I'm like, there you go. I mean, that's the whole point. So the verse, it says, the fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. If you wonder why there's so much foolishness and delusional behavior in our country right now, but just ask the question, how much fear of the Lord is there in America right now? How much fear is there? How much reverence and respect for him is there? Hardly any. I mean, it's out
Yeah.
there, but it is greatly outnumbered. And so because of that, you see this wave of confusion, delusion, nonsense, foolishness, wickedness. All of that is just tidal waving over our country right now. So the point of songs like this is to get people to think, tell them the real truth, and give them an opportunity to turn around.
Yeah, it's so crazy because the Bible tells us all we have to do is ask God for wisdom and we get it, right? But yet people, they don't want to ask because they don't have that reverence. And we're seeing fewer people have interest in that and more of this foolishness that you're talking about culturally. What's your faith background? Were you always a Christian? Did you grow up in the church? Because I followed you a long time and I didn't know a lot about, your faith positioning until recently. So I'd love to kind of hear a little bit about that background.
Yeah, so my dad started preaching at 19. He's 72 now, but he didn't preach in big churches. He was prison ministry and street ministry. Now, you want to talk about a guy with some
Wow.
conviction and bravery, courage. He preached on the street corner in New Orleans during Mardi Gras for 34 years in a row in the French
Wow.
Quarter. Okay, with all that going down, he's standing out there preaching and witnessing to people. 34 years. So
you grew up with this. You grew up
yeah,
around that kind of courage. That's not just preaching. That's preaching, as you were saying, with a lot of boldness and courage.
yeah, that's walking right in the middle of hell and preaching. Basically, is how he would probably describe that. But my decades in the music industry, that became what I worshipped. Even though I gave my life to Jesus at a young age, when I got out there and started selling millions of records, and I mean, I was ASCAP Songwriter of the Year in Nashville, Tennessee for 3 years in a row.
Wow.
I mean, trifecta. I mean, that's how much success I was having. Where that became my focal point, I looked at it as American dream stuff because I have a high school diploma. I grew up in a double wide trailer in Amarillo, Texas. That's my pedigree. So I looked at what I had accomplished there as American dream. That's the American dream. So live it up. Go get it, man. You did it. But I think once my kids were born and I got married, I started looking at how I was living and what was important to me. And I thought, is that how I want my boys to live? Do I want them to wind up like I am right now? And I was horrified by that notion. I'm absolutely not. Where you are subservient to some wicked industry like the entertainment industry, and you can't do what God's telling you to do. You can't even hear him because your ears are full of your own noise. And so I said, no, that can't happen. And I felt convicted about that. And so over those next few years, little by little, I started separating from the music industry and stepping further and further and further out into speaking the truth. And by default, that creates the chasm between truth and lie. The industry is all lies. And so when you're speaking the truth, they can't coexist with that, and I can't coexist with them either. And so the tearing away happened, and then one day I woke up and went, well, I don't have a record deal, I don't have a publishing deal, which normally are the worst things you could ever tell a professional entertainer. But I went, does that mean I can say whatever I want now? Is that what that means? And I felt like he went, you can say whatever you want, and I'm going to give you some stuff to say that I want you to say. I said, well, let's rock and roll. What do you want me to say? And when I took that attitude on and re-yielded myself to him for real, here it came. And songs like Revelation were born. And listen, like I said, that song's straight out of the book. I mean, I tried to find other songs ever that had talked about spiritual warfare and quoted John, quoted Revelation, quoted what it says. I couldn't find any. I found some that hinted around about it a little bit, but nobody that went straight at it like that. And I think at the place we're in now in our country, in the world, in our culture, it is put up or shut up time. It is put
Yeah.
up or shut up. You cannot scream and holler about what's happening around you if you're just going to ride the fence and keep your mouth shut and go along to get along. First of all, Christians are not commanded to do that. We're commanded to do quite the opposite of that. We're supposed to go forward, not retreat. We're supposed to go forward. And so, listen, it's not always the most comfortable thing to do, but it's the right thing to do, and it's what I feel moved to do. So I'm happy with where I'm at.
I love that. And, the book of Revelation, it's so interesting because, I've been a Christian my whole life. And as I learned more and more about it and read it, so many people focus on the fear parts of it, the scary part, the end time parts of it, which it's obviously all about the end times. And it's great to focus on that. But that last piece of it, right, that new hope, a new heaven, a new earth, that we're moving towards this place. And so in the midst of this chaos, what you were just saying, what we're called to do as Christians, reaching other people, getting through to them, getting the truth through to them. When people are done listening to this song, when they watch the video, what do you want them thinking and feeling?
I hope they pick their Bible up and start reading it for themselves. Don't wait till the preacher pulls that one in a sermon. You go read it yourself. You pick it up and read it. You get with your family. You get with your neighbors and friends. You get with your hunting buddy and go, have you ever read this part? Read what this says and start digging into it. Because what's interesting about Daniel and Revelation, 2 Thessalonians, Matthew 24, when you read those things now in the current state of the world, those words explode off those pages. I mean, they come straight at you because we have real-time physical things we can point at that line up with what that's saying. It's no longer science fiction. It's no longer a crazy thought to think that the mark of the beast could exist where every human being on the earth is tracked and monitored and they can't buy or sell without the mark of the system. That's no longer sci-fi at all. We already know they have all the tech for that. And in some places they're already rolling things like that out onto their people. China, for instance, is a great example. So I would say pick up the Bible and read it. That's what I hope they do. There's another interesting thing. It says, as it was in the days of Noah, so shall it be at the end. And you got to think about, so what did Noah go through? Well, Noah was living on a planet that was completely corrupt, had been gone completely wicked to the point where God even said, I'm sorry I made him in the first place. He regretted that he made mankind. In Genesis 6, it says that. I mean, what a statement. But Noah found grace in the eyes of the Lord. So then what happened? So Noah was told how to prepare for what was coming, and he listened, and he did that. And then here comes the flood. Now, Noah still had to experience that flood. He just had a boat. The same flood that drowned all the wickedness lifted him up to safety. And when it was over with, he lands on Mount Ararat and he walks off the boat. And what does he have? He has a brand new world to start over here. And if you think about what you said just a couple of minutes ago in Revelation, that's the same thing it's saying, is that wickedness will be absolutely destroyed on this planet. And guess what? Christians are around. Christians are around through a large percentage of what's going to happen. But at the end of the day, it's a whole brand new world at the end of it. It's so interesting to me how those things correlate. You can go back and find these stories that all line up. And if you wonder what's the Lord's modus operandi, well, he lays it out pretty clear. This is how he deals with things. So I think it's just incumbent on Christians, number one, to make sure you're as close to him as you can possibly get, and then go on the offense and tell people what's at stake here. Tell them what the truth is. That's what I'm attempting to do with this song.
Well, I appreciate you taking the time today. Really, this is a phenomenal song, great message, and appreciate you joining us.
You bet. Anytime. Good to see you.